The more time I spend living out here in the forest, away from what most people call the norm, the more I start to see how bizarre that normal actually is. Somehow, we have accepted a version of life that doesn't make any sense. But it's become so normal that most people don't even stop to question it anymore. We've been told how to live, and now we follow that script without even realizing it's not our own. But maybe it's time to wake up. So today I want to share 5 things that, to me, doesn't make any sense at all. Things that we have normalized, but probably shouldn't have. The first thing I want to talk about is that the world we're living in today, everyone is connected to everything. And we've been mentored into thinking that to be a responsible and an empathic person, you need to know and care about what's going on in the rest of the world. We need to keep up with the latest war, what Trump is doing next, what the latest celebrity gossip. But the problem is that our brains are programmed to live in small tribes of maybe like 150 people max. We're not meant to take in that amount of information on a daily basis, and the information we're taking in is almost mainly negative. And it's causing people to feel stress, anxiety, depression. Like, no shit. I mean, if we're taking in so much information that is constantly being negative and we're being painted that the world is such a horrible place, yeah, no shit that people are feeling really bad and depressed and sad. But there is also a very simple solution to it. We don't need to listen to all that noise. I myself have chosen not to listen or watch any news whatsoever. I sometimes tune it into the radio in the car because I actually think it's comical to listen to, if that makes sense. I almost listen to it as a form of a circus, if that makes sense. But for me, I've chosen, you can call it selfish if you want to, but I've chosen to focus on me and my closest and my friends and family. Those are the ones I truly care about. And for me to be the best person I can be for those people, I can't take in all of that information. It's the same thing that I don't read all the comments on YouTube. I usually read my comments like the first 24 hours and then I let them be, because then I know it's just trolls and angry people coming in and I don't need to read it. The funny thing about this, that the cure for the amount of stress we're feeling, the amount of anxiety we're feeling on a daily basis, most of it can be cured by just stepping outside and being in nature for a while. Drop your phone, leave it at home, go for a walk, just let your feet touch grass, and you will just feel that you will be in a lighter mood. You don't even need to live in the forest like we do. We can go to a park, just get outside. Then you will realize that the world is kind of a beautiful place. But if you are a person that actually are watching the news or tune into that kind of feed, how does that make you feel? Do you feel anxious and stressful, or do you feel that it actually helps you in some way to get that information? That would honestly be interesting to know. This next topic is something that has confused me for quite some time. For some reason, we keep looking up to, or we follow celebrities, and we look up to them, the famous people, for being famous. You know, we have TV shows about the Kardashians. We made a girl famous for yelling Hawk Tuah into a mic, and that got like views in the millions. And then we had this British girl quite recently that, I don't know how to put this in words, but she became famous and got interviewed all over the world just because she slept with 1,000 men in 24 hours. Call me old-fashioned, but that's not a person we should be looking up to. For some reason, people keep seeing that as a personal achievement somehow. And to me, that's a deeply disturbed person. And I don't know, why are we giving these kind of people attention? Like, I mean, if we just stop looking at what they do, if we stop giving the likes, comments, whatsoever, they would not get the attention that they so much crave, apparently. Can we just go together and stop giving attention to these people, because it feels like we're just rewarding the loudest people in the room. Like we're handing out attention candy to those people, and they get rewarded when they yell the most or do the most extreme thing. And they push themselves to be more extreme to get more views and likes and attention. Can't we just focus on normal people? Can we just normalize normal, average people that want to live a healthy and good life, that doesn't seek fame, doesn't seek money, just want to have a regular old life with a family and maybe a farm or a cabin in the woods like I do? Am I the only one that thinks this is highly confusing? Why are these people famous? And why are they still famous? This next one is a bit of a more personal topic, I would say. In Sweden, we have to, by law, send our kids to school for 9 years. There's no exception. We have something called skolplikt, roughly translated to mandatory school. So we have no option of homeschooling. That's not an option in Sweden. And that have gotten Christine and me to start thinking about our own son. Because if we can't decide if we want to put our kid to school or not, is it we who own our son, or is it the state or government? Again, this doesn't make sense to me. I understand the concept of school. I had a great time in school myself. I didn't fit in the curriculum because I couldn't sit still, and I thought the more practical subjects were more interesting to me than math and science. But I look back at school as a positive experience. But I would like, as a person and a dad, to be able to choose myself. And maybe don't do full-time school, maybe once or twice a week or something like that. At least we have the option to choose if he goes to kindergarten or not. So we have chosen not to put him in kindergarten because we want him at home with us as long as humanly possible. So he will be home with us for the first 5 or 6 years. No, 6 or 7 years before he starts the mandatory school. And when we started talking about this with friends and family and people in our surroundings that have their kids in kindergarten, we got the same questions repeated to us over and over again. And they were, how are you gonna socialize your kids if they don't go to kindergarten or school? How are you going to make them fit into society? For me, it's a funny question because I don't want him to be a part of that kind of society. That's kind of the whole point of keeping him at home, so we can raise him the way we want to instead of handing him over and letting someone else raise him. I would like to raise him here in the forest and make him learn practical, good things that he's gonna be able to use in an actual life scenario. Because there's a reason they don't teach basic life skills in school, because basic life skills make you independent, and independent people you can't control. The same reason why we've been herded into cities and disconnected from the land, because access to land makes you independent, and independent people can't be controlled. So when you hear it like this, it do make some sense why the laws are the way they are, but to me, as a person and a dad, this system doesn't make any sense. I should be able to make my own decision about me as a person, me as a son, us as a family. We should be able to take that decision ourselves, no one else. Christine is making a major sacrifice by being at home, being a stay-at-home mom with our son. It's a ton of work, and she's pouring her heart into that job. She's cooking the best possible food, she's being outside with him, just spending quality time. Because I don't believe that we should be away from our kids as the norm say that we should. Like leave them at kindergarten super early and then just go back to work. The reason we had a kid or want several kids in the future is that we want to spend time with them. We want to grow old and have kids and grandkids and big family, because that's how me and Christine grew up ourselves. I don't know how it is where you're living, if you have homeschooling or not, but either way you might have an opinion about it. So that would be interesting to know as well, because I have a feeling that there are some people out there that do agree with me. Next topic I want to get into is food, or should I say food? Once upon a time, Organic food was just food. Grass-fed beef was just beef. Raw milk was just milk. Today, when I walk into a supermarket, I'm amazed that you have to be on the lookout if you even want some kind of healthy food. I would say that we're having high quality food in Sweden if we compare to other countries like the US. Hope you don't get too insulted over there. But over here, my opinion is that it's a bit better, but I still have to read every single ingredient list on every single package. And that's, again, it doesn't make sense to me. Why do we keep pumping poison into people? There's so much good food out there. I understand that the underlying factor is that people want to make money out of this, and if they put pesticides and stuff, they can be more efficient and then they earn more money. I'm not an idiot, I get the whole money aspect of it. I just don't understand how people can prioritize money over people's health and lives. Because when I'm in the supermarket, there's like a teeny tiny little section that's called the healthy section or something like that. And that's like a few square meters of a whole store that is, takes half an hour to stroll around into. So when I think about if that's the healthy section, what's the rest? Is that the unhealthy section? Shouldn't it be more interesting if it actually said like, meat filled with antibiotics or toxic chemical and this kind of chips or whatever it is? It would be interesting how people would react to actually buying stuff, because now all the food are so greenwashed and the labeling looks good, so good, the packaging looks good, and we look at the price because a lot of things are going up in price, and that's absolutely harsh for people to being able to afford food. But I don't know. For me, we prioritize as healthy food as possible. We're extending the garden next year. We're getting our own ducks, sheep that we're gonna rent or borrow for the summer from a farmer around here. We want to be more independent ourselves because we want to be more in control, because we don't trust the people that are in charge of the supermarket food. To me, it's just crazy that I even have to think about stuff like this. I mean, why can't we just prioritize healthy food? I don't mean to be judgy, but when I do look into other people's trolleys or baskets or whatever they're shopping, put their groceries in at the supermarket, I get astounded of like how much shit there is in there. To my eyes, it looks like a pure basket of poison. I don't want to sound like I'm sailing on a high horse, just being better than everyone else. That's not my intention whatsoever. I'm just amazed that not more people have started to open their eyes of what they're actually putting into their bodies. I mean, we have one life, and can we just try to take care of that? Because when I look into those baskets of those people, I don't understand how they're even standing up. I mean, there's and I don't blame them. I mean, what they have to choose from is like shit product, medium, okay product, shit product. So most of what they can choose from is really bad. So of course they're gonna end up with a lot of bad stuff, but it must be possible to change this somehow. And I honestly think that the solution is that we're going out to the countryside again, start communities, start helping each other, start, one family is in charge of having the cows, maybe one have the sheep, and some have the milk production, some have meat production. We help out, we start talking together, we start interacting with each other, not closing everyone off. I think that the world is quite selfish these days and everyone tries to fend for themselves, but I think the only reason to get forward and live a healthier, better life is to start talking, interacting with each other. I think that's the reason why I'm making this video as well, because I don't want to feel alone in this. I will say that most of my friends today are agreeing with everything I've said so far, and hopefully for the rest of the video as well. And I've started to attract a circle of friends and family that really align with our values. I think that's important, so you don't feel alone in this. And again, that's why I try to talk about these topics, because we need to know that we're not alone in this, and that's how we're going to be able to create these communities in the future, I think. The next topic I want to talk about is democracy, politicians, and an update about our hospital. Because a few weeks ago, I made a video talking about that the politicians around here are threatening to close down our hospital. Not the entire hospital, but the really important sections like emergency care and so on, which are literally going to kill people if they're deciding to shut that down. And they were supposed to have a vote 2 weeks ago, and I saw the live stream of the vote. They stood there and rambled on and had their points. Some politicians were standing our ground and had our backs, so to speak, and some of them were complete cowards and misinformed. But the interesting part is that they talked for hours and hours. I kept listening and I got more frustrated, and when they were about to vote, the woman being in charge of that meeting or that voting canceled the whole thing because they had received death threats. So that's how serious people are taking this issue. So right now it's just on hold based on security levels, which, I don't know, it's just annoys the hell out of me. But what I wanted to talk about when it comes to democracy and politicians is that this can really frustrate me, but 2 years ago we elected our government. We vote every 4 years, like most countries do, I think. And I voted for a party and specific people in that party because they live out here, literally quite close to where we're living. And they were pro the hospital. They wanted to even reinstate the old glory of the hospital, open up the maternity leave again, returning it to a healthy state, funding the money back into that place because they know that would make the community and the city thrive again. That's the cornerstone of this city, or little town or village, or whatever you want to call Sollefteå, where we're living. But that party and those politicians I selected myself and voted for have, in the period of these 4 years, like it's been 2 years since we elected them, and in those 2 years they have completely done a 180, and now they're against the hospital and want to shut it down. What kind of work can you behave like that and not get fired? To me it sounds criminal. Like, I mean, I voted for this party and this person to represent me and my opinions. You shouldn't be able to change your opinion that much. You can have like a bit of a steer off, absolutely, that happens. But you can't go to an election trying to prove one point and then go the complete opposite way. If you want to change opinions to the next election, that's fine. Do that if you want to. But don't change your opinion and your power that you have been selected to take charge of. You can't change that in the middle of the election. Am I crazy, or isn't this supposed to be criminal to do these kind of things? Like, what's the whole point? That's why I did democracy in the beginning. The whole point of voting is so we can have our voices heard. This makes me not believe in the system whatsoever. What's the point for me to go and continue voting if the politicians that I'm voting for change their mind? Lying. We have a very good example of that as well, besides these politicians that I talked about with the hospital. Our Prime Minister, I think that's how you translate it into English, he shook hands with an old lady, a Holocaust survivor, some time ago, and promised her, looked her in the eye, shook her hand, saying, "I promise you I will never ever work with this right-wing party that is called Swedish Democrats in Sweden." He shook her hand, promised. Surprise, surprise, what do you think happened? He needed the Swedish Democrats, or that right-wing party, to be able to get into power himself. So he betrayed the woman, the Holocaust survivor, and focused on his self-interest. The more I'm talking about these subjects, the longer and deeper I get into these kind of conversations, I notice how I get more and more pissed off. And that's why I also want to encourage you to make your voice heard. Tell your story in the comment field, because we need to know that we're not alone in these kind of feelings and thoughts. So have a healthy, positive, you can say whatever you want, you can be frustrated, but don't throw hate on anyone in the comments. Have a reasonable discussion if you can. I really try to encourage that. And if you liked these kind of videos when I sit down and talk about certain topics, I've made this video before, and I've made this video, and I have a whole playlist that is called Cabin Conversations, where I sit down and have a topic like this. So if you want to check that out, there's a link down in the description to the whole playlist. Thank you for watching this video and taking the time to listen. See you in the next one.